I can't believe I'm about to talk about this publicly. Like, that's how crazy this story is. In high school, you want to party, but all the odds are against you, right? You try to throw a party at one of your friends' houses, and within 30 minutes, the cops are called, or the parents come home and everyone gets kicked out and grounded. You know, you want to do adult things. You want to drink alcohol. You want to play crazy music, but all of the odds are against you. You're not legally allowed to drink. You're not to be trusted home alone without adult supervision. It's a nightmare, but yet it's all you want to do. And there were quite a few ways in high school that we would try to get a party experience without throwing a house party, because house parties never ended well. So one of the ways that we would try to party is by going to country concerts. So there was a concert venue probably 40 minutes away from where I lived, and it was a pretty big concert venue. At least once a month, there was a country concert. Now, I never liked country music. And to be honest, I don't even think a lot of kids in my high school liked country music. But here's the thing about these country concerts. They were so cheap. You could get a ticket to one of these country concerts for like $20. Whereas the really good concerts, like the Post Malone concerts, those were more like $100. Those were a little bit more expensive. But these country concerts were so cheap at the time. And the way that this concert venue worked was closest to the stage, there were hundreds of rows of seats. But then behind the rows of seats, really far away from the stage, there was just a grass lawn. And if you buy one of those $20 tickets, you get access to that grass lawn. You don't really get a seat, and you can't really see the stage very well at all, but you get to hang out on the grass. This was basically the perfect scenario as a high schooler. You know, it's like you're in a public place, you're allowed to be loud, you're allowed to run around, dance around, do whatever. You don't need parent supervision because it's it's a relatively safe place because there's security around, police officers around. It's a relatively safe environment, like it's kind of just a free for all. And so every few months, all the kids from all the various schools in my town would go to these country concerts. But here's what was fucking crazy about this. The goal, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. I can't believe anyone did that. I can't believe we did this. The goal when we would go to these concerts would be to make out with as many people as you possibly could. This was very out of my comfort zone. This was like the Olympics. Like, who can make out with the most people? Some of my friends were like trained athletes, they had been training their whole life for this. This is like second nature to them. They are so comfortable with this idea. They love to do it. This is a fun activity. They're excited. They're confident. They're ready to go. I was like a JV rookie trying to play at the Olympics. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was not built for this. Super insecure, had never had a boyfriend, like had maybe kissed one boy before. I was not up for the challenge. It was just this thing that I felt like I had to do. Like, I felt like I had to go, And I remember the first few country concerts I went to, I would just follow my friends around and like let them do their thing. You know what I mean? And I just kind of minded my own business. And I enjoyed myself because it was a total fucking mess. Like, it was a total mess. Like, all these high schoolers so hungry to like party all in one place. It was a fucking mess. That's the only way I could describe it. And so the first few times I went, it was more just like fun to hang out and watch. But the last few country concerts I went to, I was like, you know what? Maybe it's my time to shine. I will say, I'm not going to listen, we're not going to go into detail here, but my record in one night was 3. But, I don't regret it actually anymore because it was kind of fun. It was kind of fun. But but I'm skipping over a part. I'm skipping over why it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing because this sort of behavior was so against my nature, that I would be stiff as a fucking board, like literally so rigid. Like I could never get into it. Like I was never into it. It was always like so forced. It was so forced in the sense that I was forcing myself to do it. Nobody was forcing me to do it by any means. It was always very respectful and like, which is actually very impressive. It was always respectful and great and whatever. But I was like forcing myself to do this and participate in this sort of activity that was so against my nature that I was stiff. Like I was uncomfortable. I couldn't do it. I couldn't get into it. And so that's why it was embarrassing because I think probably everyone who encountered me in that way at one of these country concerts was probably like, what a freak. Like, I don't know. Like, what a nervous little nerd freak. Like, which by the way, being like a little nerd freak, that's actually badass and cool. So no regrets at all. But I think it's just cringe for me to remember because number one, it's like, I can't believe I even did that in the first place. But number two, like, I wasn't cool about it. Like, it wasn't like, oh shit, like, dang, 3 in one night for Emma. That's badass. It's like, yeah, Emma tried it 3 times and was stiff as a board and very nervous every time. And it was never like badass and cool. Like some of my friends, it was like badass and cool. So I don't know. Psychologically for me, I think it was somewhat of an important experience because it did sort of build my confidence. Like, hey, you know what? Maybe I can find boys who like me and maybe I can do the all dreaded kiss and survive it, and come out the other end alive. Cause I was so nervous about that type of stuff. Like any sort of like any kind of intimacy, it's like kind of a joke to even call that intimacy, I guess at all. But any sort of behavior like that used to make me so nervous. And I think it did help me build my confidence a little bit, which I think is not to be ignored. But at the same time, I don't know if that's the right way to go about getting over that fear. So I guess the moral of the story is I don't regret doing it personally, but I wouldn't recommend it for others. Although I wouldn't judge you if you did that because, hello, I did the same thing. And, like if I didn't do shit like that in high school, then it would have been boring. Like I wouldn't have any stories to tell now. So no regrets.